Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Godzilla podcast. Well, I thought I would make a special video of sorts for everyone here, and who knows if it's doing pretty well and there's a lot of views, I'm going to continue this trend as probably a new series of sorts. I got the idea the other day when I was watching, just perusing through my usual YouTube videos, stuff I like to watch, and then I saw on one of the recommended options that there were YouTube users out there making commentary videos, not of video games, but of films. Like kind of like the ones that you see everywhere now with regards to DVDs and Blu-rays, commentary by film actors, and then also some of the kind of film crew members as well. In this case, these are amateurs, people that are making their own amateur commentary as if you were watching the film with them. So it suddenly hit me that that idea is perfect, absolutely perfect, something I can do with some of the films that I love, especially on the Godzilla side, and then some of the other films there. So let's begin with this one, and what better way to do so than to talk about the Godzilla 1985 film, my absolute favorite Godzilla film, the one that started it all, the one that introduced me to the Godzilla world. So I found the copy on metacafe.com. That's still there. If you have the VHS copy like I do too, feel free to use that as well. But otherwise, I'm going to start at the point right when the logo appears for the Godzilla film. In this case, it's the logo that's the one for the New World, essentially. And whenever you're starting there, that's essentially the point that I'll be. So, but in any case, let's go ahead and we'll begin. So find your copy, be sure to do so, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you when to click play. In this case, it's going to be the exact point that you're looking for is the one where New World Pictures comes up. There it is. New World Pictures presents, and in this case, a Toho production. If you're there with me, that's where I'm watching it from here. So let's go ahead and we'll start the commentary for it. Now, I remember watching this as a kid. I remember the VHS copy that I rented from my parents did was from a local VHS store that was nearby our house back when VHS stores were around. This was even a more amateur one of sorts, and this is the copy that introduced me to it. This lettering, this fiery lettering that's happening in the background was amazing to watch as a kid, because gone were the photos that I saw of Godzilla like jumping for joy, high-fiving some of his band members, his co-mates, whatever, as far as allies. No, in this case, this was absolute seriousness. The music, the tone, the fiery letters, the stuff that was spreading across, it let me know as a kid that this was going to be a whole different Godzilla film of sorts. And all this stuff, like the story by, is produced by. It's nice because it's obviously a co-mixture between the Japanese and American productions. So finally, the Godzilla logo comes out, Godzilla 1985, and then it cuts to the next scene, which in this case is that boat 100 miles south of Tokyo rocking back and forth within those turbulent waters. What's interesting to note now is that the Godzilla 1999 film is going to be something almost like the way it started was almost like a dedication of sorts to this film too, because both of them started the very same way. Both of them featured a boat, I guess you could call it a fishing boat as well, out in the middle of somewhere in the sea, experiencing some pretty bad weather, and then whenever they were doing that, they both experienced Godzilla coming forth, not necessarily attacking the ship, but in this case at least rising up from whatever hibernation that he was in. So I remember watching this as a kid too and being a little freaked out. I mean, this is scary stuff. By the way, that island that they're coming across, as a kid, I had no idea like what had awakened Godzilla, but the Dark Horse trade paperback states that basically what woke him was the volcano, if I'm not mistaken, erupting within that small island, and then Godzilla, for whatever reason, was encased within that volcano, maybe just hibernating, who knows for how many years, and because of that eruption, then he woke up, and this small boat just happened to be there as well. So here we have Godzilla emerging, very, very powerful scene. You see that guy walking towards the window, trying to witness what's happening, and then of course there's that ominous roar of Godzilla. By the way, you're not hearing any sound or music or anything as far as background stuff from the film due to the heavy, heavy licensing stuff that Toho is infamous for. I cannot really play that stuff in the background. I know a lot of you have asked about having that's Godzilla music and so forth, but Toho is pretty bad that you must get their permission. So in this case, it's just me as commentary. Now we're at the point where it's Raymond Burr, the one from the Godzilla King of the Monsters film, back in the Godzilla world. What a welcome sight, by the way, too. It goes to show again the seriousness of this film, because somehow he is realizing that who knows, that if Godzilla not necessarily communicated with him, but somehow he's aware, based on his previous experience with Godzilla, that Godzilla is now back. So back again to, in this case, the Toho thing. Yes, that's why I have to just keep it as myself as the only commentary, because again, Toho Studios is pretty bad with regards to this stuff, and I imagine some of the other commentaries videos out there too are kind of following the same thing too, I guess, to make sure that their videos stay up. Now we come across the scene where it looks like when the photographer comes across, he's taking photos at least, of this stranded ship. As a kid, I didn't know. I thought it was just by pure happen chance. But the Dark Horse trade paperback makes it clearer. It says that this guy was physically on the track of this missing boat. Like, he was out there trying to find it. And find it he does. In this case, though, when I was a kid, I remember thinking that he was just lucky, that he was just coming across this as well. So now we're at the point where he's inspecting the inside of the boat. Here's the first jump scare that's going to come up. I remember as a kid that this was pretty scary stuff. Like, this is not the stuff that's seen within the Godzilla film, some of the other ones. He's going to come across that mummified corpse. I remember too, years later, I mean just a couple of years back, seeing the, I guess, behind the scenes photos of this movie and this corpse that the light is now being shown on, that I saw the making of it, like photos that showcased the making of it, and I was like, so that's so cool to see that information, to see essentially what was history to me back then, to see behind the scenes stuff. I always love seeing that kind of stuff. Now he's coming down to one of the lower cabins, and again seeing some more mummified corpses, stuff. People are in their beds that have no chance essentially to do anything. It almost seemed like it was a nod whenever especially when he trips and falls on that eerie white goo of sorts. That it was a nod to Aliens too, like the Alien, the first film, because all the Alien films always have someone coming across a substance, sticky substance of some sort, before they're attacked by a alien creature, and in this case, he's about to be attacked too. So we're now coming up at the point where he's about to be attacked by, in this case, that giant louse. That louse, by the way, another interesting thing about it, as a kid, I had no idea where that thing came from. But the Dark Horse trade paperback makes it pretty clear. It came now from Godzilla himself. It was a creature of some sort that who knows how many years back, decades, generations, who knows, but it was something that latched itself onto Godzilla, and then Godzilla's radioactivity made it grow. So it was, who knows what incarnation it was at the very beginning, but now here it is, almost half the size of a human. Here he is attacking this poor guy. He's trying to stab it with the knife, but in this case it was all from Godzilla. The Cloverfield film did a nice nod to this as well. Everyone remember that scene, right? Where the Clover monster, once it rises out of the sea and is attacking the city, it starts doing something to the buildings around it. Like, it starts rubbing its body against it, almost an irritation. And then, of course, those dog-like lices of some sort start coming off across it, and then they start attacking the people. Very similar, no? In this case, to the Godzilla 1985 film. So that thing was just attacked and killed by the now living guy, the one that was in the boat there, too. By the way, these commentaries that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna split them probably over 4 or 5 videos. The reason for it is because if I do like a really long one, like let's say over an hour, make it seem essentially just one long commentary, then it's hard for people to try to find where they stopped, because unless you have all the time in the world to watch these things back and forth, then you're going to start at some point and stop it, and then you got to go back and find where you stopped. So if I split it over several videos, it makes it easier. It's just me, that's the way that I do it. I love whenever other people do it on YouTube side, where they make like a long plays, but they do it over several parts. Then I can make it much easier. Now the Prime Minister is being informed of the attack of Godzilla. All this stuff again adds to the realism within this new Godzilla film, the Godzilla 1985 film, because here he's being notified of it and he's taking it very seriously. That's another thing about this film too, in hindsight now. These beautiful shots, by the way, of Tokyo, just fantastic. What a beautiful town, especially at night. If anyone has been there, please post those comments, share how wonderful that town looks at night. I'll probably never go, but still very, very fascinating. But now we're at the point where the newspaper, again adding to the tone of realism, that newspaper company, this guy's story is being canceled. And as a kid, all of this just flew by me. As kids, what do we care about all this stuff? But now as an adult, it's great to find out that how real this film was, because that would probably happen in real life. Say there was something as far as like a giant monster somewhere attacking, but no one really around it to witness it. But the little teeny tiny tidbits of news start making and creeping some of the corners, especially towards some of these news people. When that happens, then you do have the idea that some of these newspapers, out of public safety, may cancel the news, at least until it's absolutely necessary. And that is to ensure that there's not enough panic, not enough pandemonia, making sure that people aren't just acting out 100% crazy, and that society just acts as normal as can be, at least until, again, it is absolutely necessary. So again, 100% adding to the realism of this film. It pays very good tribute to making sure that if there was, let's say, 100% a true Godzilla attack, then all the proper steps are being taken ahead of time as if it was in the real world. So great, great stuff. So now this guy, my apologies, these names, I can't remember them within the films, but if you're watching it with me, obviously, then you'll know exactly who I'm referring to. He just can't let go with regards to his journalistic curiosity, so he's trying to find more information. He's going into that Hayashida Bioscience Institute to meet the scientists to see what they can do as far as Godzilla. That actor, by the way, the one that plays the older scientist, if I recall correctly, he was supposed to be one of the original members of the Godzilla King of the Monsters film. But I can't remember if it was because either the guy was too elderly or he passed away beforehand, but he was recast and this other guy took his place. And but it was supposed to be one of the other original members, as a great tribute, again, like with Raymond Burr's cameo that just came out, to the film that started it all. So they're talking about, again, about the attack and seeing what's going on. I love the little intricate details within the office. Again, all of this movie, it was ahead of its time. I mean, look at the way that the place looks. It's a real office. It's a real scientist, I guess, research place. It's not like these fantasy films where you see, for whatever reason, whenever you visit like government research places now in movies, they showcase everything like in dark tones, multiple monitors everywhere, people in stylish clothing walking around, always, I guess, younger. But no, in this case, it's real. I mean, this would be a scientific place, a research place of sorts, and there wouldn't be a bunch of people, I guess, like at a hip place of some sort, just working there by happen chance. No, these people themselves, they look like they were cast with the intention of looking like real workers too. I mean, even this guy, like the investigative journalist, the way he's dressed, here he is, like most reporters, off duty or I guess on duty, but still, he would be wearing not fancy clothing, but instead workers' clothing, business casual, I guess you could call it, like business dress. But again, it just further adds to the realism to it. So now he's waiting for that intern or that scientific aide to come out. She's obviously the sister of the guy that was on the boat, the one that was rescued by the journalist. And he's trying to tell her the information as far as, kind of knows where he's at, but at the same time, he can't really keep it, uh, like, broadcast that info out. So this, by the way, I love this shot, the one where they're walking together at night or at evening with the skyline backgrounds showcasing those beautiful, beautiful buildings. Great shot, great cinematography within the film. I don't think this is blue screen or green screen, whatever they used back then. Like, in other words, they were just walking and then the stuff was superimposed in the background. No, I think this is the real deal. In fact, yeah, if I recall correctly, I remember seeing a behind the scenes photo of this too. I'll try to find that link. There was this great link I found years back that showcased a whole bunch of behind the scene photos. And it showed them too walking there. So now she's just burst into that room. There he is, the guy from the boat, being tended to. It looks like he's obviously there with a lot of other suits. No doubt the government has now become fully interested in the world of Godzilla. Now, finally, we're picking up on some action. It's the ominous scene showcasing a submarine floating through the waters, and of course, this being the Russian submarine. I love the political context within the film too. Again, this stuff just flew by me when I was a kid, but this was at the height of, in this case, what was the Cold War. Back then, there was that notion that there were two huge factions, the U.S., the Russians. They were not getting along, but at the same time, they were not going all out war on each other. And so that's why you would have, in this case, a Russian submarine actively monitoring for stuff. And in this case, now they're figuring out that there's something else ahead of them, and they're trying to confirm if whether it's like something like U.S. related or if it's something else as well. Like, let's say someone as an ally of the U.S. trying to secretly, I guess, come across their waters too. Real scary scene too, real ominous. Watching this as a kid, it you never see what's coming to you in this case from the submarine. So again, it adds further to the realism of it. You don't see like a spectacular Spielberg shot of, let's say, Godzilla coming straight to them. No, in this case, everything, the point of view is kept within the submarine to make sure that you are feeling the very same thing that these guys are feeling. So they just fired two torpedoes at this thing, whatever it is, thinking that it's, of course, they have no idea it's Godzilla. Instead, they were most likely thinking that it was Americans or some other ally of some sort, and they have just confirmed that they are direct hits. But you and I both know that nothing will stop Godzilla, and in this case, to their much horror, and then to my horror as a kid, you have this thing still coming at them. Like, they're even saying an enemy is still closing in. The 1999 film seemed to have a very minor nod to this whenever Godzilla jumped into that bay and then was confronted by the two submarines. Oh, and now you see, oh, this great stuff. Godzilla just attacked the submarine. The water, of course, is coming in. There they are, not knowing 100%. And then finally we get, I guess, a brief glimpse. In this case, it's something, it looks like it's Godzilla's paw hugging the submarine. It's very hard to tell, but of course, with him doing so, trying to collect that radiation, that power that was there, then it caused it to explode. But you can barely see anything. Now we're at the point, the infamous Dr. Pepper machine in the background. Oh man, I remember years later how this has gained infamy as the Godzilla 1985 film basically being a huge Dr. Pepper commercial. So now we're at the US scenes, the ones that were shot and added to the Japanese film, and then that way they could distribute it. All the US military personnel, they're being told about what happened in this case with the Russian submarine, and then also what's maybe happening across seas in Japan. There's a little bit of trivia too. This film was originally going to have a whole lot more comedy to it. And I think it was Raymond Burr. Once he came on board, he said, no, as far as the U.S. scenes, we're changing it. There's not going to be stuff that I'm going to sign on. Instead, we're going to make it like the Godzilla King of Monsters film. And that guy, the red-headed younger military officer, he's the one that has a leftover line, something about that's quite in like an urban pacification program, something like that, that he says later on in the film. But that was the only remaining line. Otherwise, the stuff you see here, all of it happened after this change. Instead, it was going to be much more comedic, much more, I guess, tongue-in-cheek, almost like a comedy of sorts. So now we shift to the Prime Minister, the scenes that are back to him. Alright, I guess this will be a good point to go ahead and stop with regards to this part 1. I'm going to continue the rest of the film, the other parts here in a little bit. But otherwise, give me your feedback, give me your comments. I want to see at least how this part 1 works. Part 2 will continue right when the Prime Minister is being told of the latest news. So again, if you're following me, I've included a link below, the Metacafe Godzilla 1985 film. Otherwise, the VHS copy that you have, that'll be another good way too. But yeah, I'll be interested to hear what your comments are with regards to this new thing. I'm going to finish the rest of the videos probably either by tonight or tomorrow, and then upload them as well. So alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.